So, episode 3 of Loki. What exactly are our expectations for what we're getting into at this point?
Well, I'm thinking that Loki is going to get explained to a lot about what we're still going with Randy. We haven't seen episode 3 yet. What Randy has done with the time bombs and how that actually affected everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna have to sit down and explain that whole thing, and especially actually tell us how those bombs work.
Yeah.
Because they tried showing us, and that told us literally nothing.
Yeah, their explanation's bad, so I hope they give us something in this thing. So that's like number one, big thing.
Do you think they're going to go back to any apocalypses and hide out there?
No, I bet you that the TVA is going to be a chaos at this point, and they're going to just try and revel in that and just work around them entirely because of that.
All right. So do you think those two Lokis are going to go right back to the TVA and start wreaking more havoc, or are they just going to be off doing something else while the TVA is trying to handle whatever situation rose up?
I think that the TVA is going to be directly involved in whatever they're doing.
Okay.
But I just think that they're going to be able to just completely ignore them, or they're going to be using the TVA to do something. I'm not sure. But that's what I'm expecting from it. I mean, I don't expect it to be... I expect it to be, same kind of quality it has been the entire time. Until next episode.
Yep. Cursed episode 4 in the Marvel TV shows. So, my biggest expectation is that the entire time Loki is going to be emasculated by female Loki.
I don't expect that to happen. I just don't want it to happen.
No, I expect that to happen because I really feel like because of the situation they put themselves in, that's the only way that they feel they can build up Randy, the female Loki.
If they do that, I am going to be very sad.
We're all going to be very sad. But it's not like they haven't demasculated Loki before. So.
You're right, but they have yet to get rid of his entire self-respect as a character.
We're going to find out, I suppose, right?
Yeah. So
I can't think I have any more expectations besides that big one and whatever you said because, like I said, these Marvel shows move so fast, I can't usually get a grip on what might happen.
I mean, I'm not expecting a whole lot from this episode. I'm expecting a lot of exposition. That's what I'm really expecting.
Yeah, I think that's starting to be a problem. 3 episodes in, we're still getting more and more exposition.
I think it's pretty needed. The exposition's going to need to happen.
No, it's needed, and I think
because
that's a problem too.
I think this is probably the last episode of exposition because, well, Loki, her plan's going off, right? And we're going to need to know what she's doing. And then after that's done, I hope they set everything up by then.
Right.
That they don't need to explain anymore. So, we'll see.
We'll see. The 3rd episode honestly surprised me. I was expecting things to go downhill a lot faster than what actually happened, but it seemed to be pretty okay, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I found myself enjoying it a hell of a lot more than I did the other first 2.
I mean, I've enjoyed every episode to a certain extent, but I don't know that I would call any of them particularly good. Spoilers beyond this point.
Yeah, of course. But, you especially, have already been looking at it as Loki as its own separate individual thing and finding enjoyment out of that. But this 3rd episode, I found myself enjoying in the context of it actually being Loki.
That's fair. I have to say, the episode did surprise me.
Well, that could also be because the 1st and 2nd episode set my expectations so astronomically low that at any point that they were actually slowing down and doing some character stuff and not going 1,000 miles a minute. And they're still going fast, but it felt like they were just slowing down and taking a little side tangent just for these characters. just because my expectations are set so low, I think I like this episode.
Alright, well, I definitely think that this episode was safe.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that it did a whole lot.
Well, considering what they've done when they were not safe, I think playing it safe is the best option they could have taken.
I think to connect to the MCU, this episode has the least amount of problems. However, I'll be honest, this is kind of my least favorite episode. I have no reason other than it didn't do anything, and so I was the most bored. Maybe I just enjoy reveling in the chaos of what's going on.
Okay, alright, you must just enjoy watching it burn as much as I did, but come on, you had to admit that it was at least fun watching Loki and Loki interact. I was kind of worried about how those, well, not Sylvie, I guess she wants to be called now. Still don't know why she doesn't want to be called Loki, but honestly, I think it's just a writing thing, just so they don't have Loki and Loki next to each other the whole time.
I think my problem was I really don't like the fact that they're pushing them as a relationship.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so you didn't believe it when I first pointed it out. When they were together and they were fighting and they were being catty with each other, and I pointed it out. And
wait, did you point that out in episode 2?
No, I pointed that out episode like at the beginning of episode 3 when they were starting to be around each other and they were fighting all the time and they were sharing quippy lines. That is how they try and do these kind of relationships.
Yeah.
They try to have them share quips the entire time.
Yeah, but it always annoys me.
Not only that,
I don't want to believe you.
Yes, I didn't want to believe myself either because I thought that was only the level of some online fan fiction writers who would ship a character with themselves.
I mean, I guess they aren't actually shipping them yet.
But
they might as well have.
I don't know. I was really on the fence, but then the second they sat down and then talked about relationship statuses.
Oh, yeah. Alright, well, why don't you start with the recap?
Go ahead.
Alright, so at the beginning of this, we cut back to where Sylvie, is what she's going to be calling herself for this, goes into the TVA. After she blows everything up and causes chaos. That's where her portal left at the end of episode 2. Mm-hmm. She goes in there and she starts beating the crap out of TVA officers. She apparently didn't know that she can't use magic there. She attempts to and she just can't, and then she goes, oh dang it. Yep. And then she starts beating the crap out of them.
Yep, just another sign that the TVA is utterly incompetent. I mean, if it wasn't for the powers that they had, I don't think anyone would be afraid of them.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's more of a sign that Sylvie, doesn't know anything about how the TVA works at their own place, which I just find super strange. She's been working with TVA technology for how long? I mean, it's very obvious that she at least knows how it works. Mm-hmm. And yet she's never been here, and more problematic, she doesn't know that they have this ability?
You see, yeah, it's weird. That means she found out everything she could about the TVA without the TVA actually, taking her to the place. And, we found out through Loki by going through all of that bureaucracy and it being pretty much explained to him. But Sylvie got to the exact same position, being outside of the TVA the entire time.
She actually got further. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe they're explaining that if you get grabbed by the TVA, it's too late. And so the only way is if you don't.
No, not only that, but she was expecting that she could pop into the TVA and find that golden elevator and just ride it all the way up to the timekeepers. That was her entire goal.
Especially since she was mind crazy. The C-20, too. She was in her head.
Yeah.
And she still didn't know anything about that. I don't know. It's just
that's another thing this episode revealed. Before we were kind of playing around with the idea that they were variants, and the show kind of said that no, that's not true because everyone in the TVA was created by the timekeepers. However, they flip this back around and say that no, everyone there is variants. They have a past life, but they've been taken there and essentially brainwashed.
Yeah, and that information comes from Sylvie, right?
Yes. Well, it comes from Sylvie and more specifically Loki because he points it out to the audience that
they lied.
Well, yes, that they lied and that the TVA officer that Sylvie kidnapped had memories from before the TVA.
Yeah. And she's definitely telling the truth because we saw them.
Yeah, we saw them at the beginning of the episode.
So yeah, I almost forgot about that. So basically she goes in there. Loki follows in after her. He gets his blades back out of the locker that they took him from.
Thank goodness.
And then she goes and basically fights her way all the way to the elevator where she says if she rides it, she'll go find the three bozos.
Yep. And then Renslayer shows up, and apparently Sylvie decides that's too much.
No.
And they kind of just nope out of there.
No, Loki shows up behind her. They
Mm-hmm.
fight,
Right.
and that's when Renslayer shows up. And when Renslayer shows up, Loki, I believe, tries to use the time portal thing, and that's how they get out of there.
Okay.
Because Loki does it, not
Loki
her.
uses her time portal.
Yeah,
right?
her thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think. I could be wrong.
Well, no, it has to be her time portal because the way they landed up is a place that Sylvie already knows, and she had it logged into her thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then once they get there, they fight some more, and then they find out that their teleporter, their time whatever,
they fought over it.
is out of batteries.
Yeah.
Which I particularly didn't like because
that's pretty convenient.
It's pretty much the only thing that pushes the entire episode along, and it felt just odd that such a powerful piece of technology has such a limitation as a battery.
They should have just broke it while fighting. And actually, the only reason they don't break it while fighting isn't because they don't want it to break while fighting. It's because if they broke it while fighting, they didn't have a good reason for Loki and Sylvie to work together, which they could have written around.
No, they very easily could have written around because the thing breaks later on.
Yeah.
And then they already have another pre-made solution, which is there's a whole arc that they can go and find, and it'll get them out of there.
Yeah, but the writers didn't know how to make Loki and Sylvie actually work together, and that was the only way they could do it, was give it to Loki, because Sylvie was so hell-bent on not working with Loki that they would have just fought.
Yeah, you see, here's the thing. No, I think they knew what they were doing. I think they just know how to keep the audience's attention if the audience has a short attention span. So instead of spending the entire episode going after the arc, they spent half the episode going after one thing, and then when that's gone, they completely changed it and spent the other half of the episode going for another thing.
Yeah, but they're actually the same thing.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter the thing, it just matters what's pushing the story along. But to the people who are watching it, to us, it's supposed to tell us that things are progressing, when really, they're not. It's just the same thing that's happening in the same way.
Yeah,
it's just a different end goal.
I don't like that it runs out of battery. I think it's pretty contrived and stupid.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like I said, I don't think the most powerful thing in the entire universe should run on a battery. That'd be like if the Infinity Gauntlet had 2 charges of snaps.
Yeah, I don't like that. I like the limitation of it breaking, which ends up happening later.
Well, yeah, you can break technology. That's fine, but it feels like just running out of battery, like what you said. It's just such a contrivance, and it ends up being the only thing that pushes the first part of the plot along.
Yeah, and so they end up on this place, 2077 Lamentus 1, which is apparently a asteroid or something, maybe a moon, colliding with a planet, and it's going to kill everything there. They had a way off, but that way off gets destroyed before it can leave. So they're stuck there. They've got like 24 hours to get off.
And that's
the
how
place.
the end of the episode is, right?
Yeah, the end of the episode is over there, where they end up going over there.
Yeah,
but
they end up going to this arc, and after spending the entire episode pretty much going there.
Well,
they first ended up on the train because they needed a power source for the teleporter. But then they get tossed off the train, and then they find out the train is going to the arc. So then they end up going to the arc.
They actually get on the train to go to the arc.
To get the power source. Okay,
yeah,
so
the power source is there.
Never mind.
They are going to. They were always going to the same place. That's why they get on the train. And they get on the train and they have a long talk about.
Yep, they talk about like their mom, the little differences that happen between them, their relationships for some reason. Because, like I said, I really think they want to ship these two together.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I don't know why they really feel the need to. I also want to point out that this is not Earth, which I mentioned in the last episode, I believe, that they were only going to Earth places, and I thought it was a problem, and then immediately the next episode they go somewhere that's not
No,
Earth.
they went to a purple desert this time.
And I was right, though. It definitely was for budget reasons, because they like to blow their budget in
Holy
this episode.
cow. Like, it seems like everything was just out of left field or something.
Yeah.
It's just like they must have been saving it all just for this.
Yeah, because...
And I guess it was worth it because it was nice to look at.
Yeah, I mean, they destroyed the entire city while they were over there. Because they end up taking the train, they get fight on the train, they get thrown off the train, and then they break the device, and then they walk the rest of the way, conveniently close enough to the city that gets destroyed, and they go there, and they are unable to get to the ship that's leaving before it leaves.
The Ark gets completely destroyed.
Yeah.
For they can't use it, and everyone they're fighting their way through the city, and once the Ark is destroyed, everyone just stops. Sylvie walks off. That's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot that happens in this episode. It's mostly just characters. And, I mean, I don't dislike Sylvie. But I don't really particularly like her either.
You see, when they first introduced her, I thought it was going to go in the way of she was going to end up emasculating Loki the entire time. She was going to end up better than him at everything, and he was just going to be fumbling along behind her. But that's not what happened. No. They actually feel on par as equals, kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
Sylvie definitely knows a little bit more what's going on, but Loki isn't a fool either, and he actually does do things that helps progress things along.
Sylvie didn't beat her in a one-on-one fight. Or beat him, I'm sorry.
Yes.
In a one-on-one fight, and I was impressed by that. Because...
Yeah, usually that's exactly what happens. Like, they get into a fight, and the woman, just to show that it's stronger than the man character that's already been established, ends up beating the man just so they can establish her as strong.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. And
no,
I was
they were at least
genuinely
equal.
impressed.
They were at least equals, which is much better because
Yeah.
it doesn't completely take away from the previously established character, and it allows to show you that the character's already, like, the new character has their own footing.
Yeah, I'm so glad that didn't happen. And I guess all I have to say for this episode is, like, it didn't do a whole lot. Not a lot happened.
You see, after everything that happened in the first episode and the second episode, I feel like after the complete destruction of the entire MCU,
yeah,
I could take a somewhat boring episode.
That's fair, but they only have 6 episodes.
You're right, yeah.
And
the weirdest thing is, the way this episode ends, they either have to Deus Ex Machina both Loki and Sylvie off that planet, which they can because there's just these portal stuff literally everywhere in the TVA.
Yeah.
Or they have to Deus Ex Machina them off the planet in another way, like maybe there's another arc, who knows.
Yeah.
And it feels like if they don't get them off that planet right away, we're taking a really long sidetrack into something that feels like it's taking away from everything else. You can't introduce something as big as the TVA and only have 6 episodes and not be focusing most of your time on that.
I think the beginning of the next episode is going to take place from Mobius' perspective.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because they have genuinely perspective shifted exactly what happened in the last episode.
All right, we're starting to get into our expectations.
Yeah.
Well, so, anything else to say about this episode?
No, not really.
Really?
I don't have anything really to say about this
honestly,
episode.
I'm just going to say I am super excited for all of that Loki and Sylvie fan fiction that's going to be coming out.
I'm not. That's solid, though.
You know what? Anything is going to be better than the Thor and Loki fan fiction that's already out there. So I'm ready for the ride.
I don't know that that's true.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
No, I'm not sweet in summer. I just don't think that that's true.
Oh, you see, we have this funny thing in front of us called a computer, and if you really want me to ruin your night, I can show you the stockpiles of this.
No.
All right, cool. Anyway.
See you next time.
See you next time.